I thought it won't do well,
Yeah.
but surprisingly it did. Okay, recording in progress. Okay, hello. Kaise ho? Welcome back to Queen is Dead. Very low energy. Get back energy. Hello. Welcome back to Queen is Dead. I am Sanjeet, and I have surprisingly Dhruv with me. Who expected Dhruv to be here? And Dr. Amartya Acharya, who
Not a doctor
is
yet. Not
no,
a
but
doctor.
not a doctor. Okay, only Brooklyn Nine-Nine fans would get it. But okay,
Uh,
okay. And today we are talking about this very small indie movie that has come out, and we would like to discuss about it for some reason. I don't know why we're doing this, but yeah, please listen ahead. This movie is The Batman,
yeah.
directed by Matt Reeves. It's in theaters. It's a 176-minute long, sprawling detective noir. And we'll go ahead with our initial thoughts. Please take over, Dhruv sir.
पहले मुझे ही फेंकना है. Okay, so
Yeah, that's the plan. Also,
okay.
Amartya, थोड़ा तेज बोलना this time. We'll cut this out.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I liked it fair bits. I think I've been a fan of the character. No, I've not been I've not been a reader of the comic books and all. I got introduced through the Nolan Batmans to the character,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
after that, I've played a couple of the games, the console
Arkham.
games, the Arkham
Mm-hmm.
games, and I've been a big fan of those. One of the stories in one of those is fantastic. I think it's
Which
the
Mm-hmm.
one?
second
Which
installment
one?
with the
City or Origins? Which one?
I'm forgetting the name, but it's not the last one. It's the one before the last one. It's the second one with
Mm-hmm.
Joker. Joker is the central focus in that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so the thing though is that I've not liked the DC ones, which I think a lot of people haven't liked.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one I hadn't seen the trailer much or anything. I didn't know much about it. I just knew the primary cast and like I knew Matt Reeves was directing. So I was interested in it just because it's the Batman and the usual stuff, I think. And when I got into the film, as soon as it began, I was like, okay, this is serious stuff. It's a film that really wants to take itself seriously. And if you're willing to take it seriously, then I think you will be on the
Interesting.
ride
Yeah.
with it. I think there's going to be sometime going to be a reaction where the people who don't like it will think it's too self-important and too into its own self, which it is,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it takes itself super seriously. I like that. I thought it was a throwback a little bit to old cinema in terms of its pacing,
Yeah.
in terms of its
Definitely.
focus on not world building, but like it wasn't like trying to connect it into some universe and all that. I was just solidly told.
Thankfully.
Yeah, Sanjeet can
Yeah. Thank
attest,
God.
considering his love for the recent Spider-Man.
Huh?
So
Yeah.
no, I think I liked it in that sense. I think my big reservation with it is I honestly didn't feel anything emotionally. I was engaged, never enthralled, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
No,
It
but there are
doesn't,
like a
but
couple of
chalega. It
interesting
doesn't, but
points that
chalega.
I'd like to talk about later, but we'll
Hmm.
come to that. Amartya,
Okay.
go ahead.
When the movie begins, Bruce Wayne is narrating. You know, he says the date. He says the city is a cesspool.
Mm.
He's talking about the city. He's talking like the crime element of it. He's walking in the street, and
Mm-hmm.
as soon as that happens, I'm like, yes, this is for me. This is
Mm.
absolutely for me. This is noir at its basic, most bleakest level. You have
Mm.
a protagonist who is literally talking about what is going on. And
Mm.
then the funniest thing is he's actually recording it in a diary. And then when you finally see his face at around 20 minutes in the movie,
Mm.
he's like a goth kid.
Mm.
With
He's
the hairstyle
broody.
also.
Yeah, he's broody. He's emotional. He looks exactly like a guy who will actually listen to something in the way by my father.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like an emotional wreck. He's like a guy suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder who who wants to take over and who wants to handle his post-trauma in the only sensible way a kid could think of. because let's dress up like a bat and beat criminals to within an inch of our lives.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Reeves doesn't make fun of it.
Yeah.
Reeves takes it seriously. Reeves takes it with nuance and depth. And he crafts a movie which only The Dark Knight did. He crafts a crime movie in which Batman as an object is incidental.
Hmm.
He's a vigilante because he doesn't have any superpowers. He's a vigilante. But at the end of the day, it's a crime movie.
Yeah.
And it's also at its core a completely tightly written detective movie.
Yeah.
And for a Batman fan, that is one of the biggest things that was missing from the movies until now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I
Okay.
don't think, and suffice to say, I loved it.
That's suffice. Yeah.
Okay, I really liked it. I loved the movie. And the thing is, there's so much to appreciate in this, not in just
Yeah.
of the film, but also in terms of the making of the film, which in turn also tells how good a director Matt Reeves is. I mean, my introduction to Matt Reeves is mostly through the Apes movies,
Yeah.
the Dawn and the War. I didn't
Yeah.
like Dawn as much, but I
Yeah.
loved War.
War
I
was
really
fantastic.
fantastic stuff.
Lovely, guys. Flipped for me.
Huh? Oh,
Flipped. Yeah.
okay. So I loved War thoroughly.
Yeah.
I think I watched it in 2018, sometime in July 16 something. And I remember loving it a lot because I was like, because I wasn't as invested in the earlier two Apes movies, but this one, I don't know, for some reason invested me so well. And also there are these Matt Reeves aesthetic, which are like slow moving cameras, wide frames, very shallow focuses, very hard, like extreme close-ups and all of that. I think those are those Matt Reeves signatures and all that.
Signatures. Yeah.
But coming to just like the Batman, I think this one, the self-serious thing which you were talking about, I think that's particularly the reason I really love, because it's not like saying oh, it's serious, but it's also like kind of like taking the person
Funny.
dressed as a bat in a
Hmm.
very funny way. It's not trying to be self-aware
Yeah.
either,
Yeah.
which I think is the best part, because if you are self-aware, then you'll never be committed to the whole act.
Yeah.
And if you see to that, I mean, this also I discovered while watching it, there are very less wides of Batman walking or in action, because then kind of it starts looking, very odd in the aesthetic that he's put in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I love the movie because it's like a hard-boiled detective, and it very much so reminded me of the cartoon, the 90s
Oh yeah.
cartoon which I grew up on, and some of the comics. And I didn't know it was based on Long Halloween as like a basic structure, which Amartya told me it's not just Long Halloween, so I'm not sure. So yeah, I mean, I read Long Halloween, which kind of it felt inspired. There's no Two-Face in it, but yeah, I mean, I was surprised, and this is like a very good adaptation of that kind of a world, very different aesthetics.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. So like we can just deep dive into the whole thing now. I think
Spoiler.
there's much more to talk in
Yeah, yeah.
spoilery terms.
Hmm.
Actually, I don't know if anyone could term these things as spoiler. To be very honest, I feel that way, because
I
in
mean,
the sense,
there are twists
it's
and
a
turns. No.
it's a 3-hour movie, and
It's a
it's not
narrative movie. It's a narrative heavy movie.
super narrative movie.
Yeah.
Super, and so the thing is, you'll be so invested, you won't care if you know anything before that or after, like that. So
I mean,
that's
still a spoiler, I would say, considering how everything
okay.
is a spoiler nowadays. So
Up to you. That's I mean, that's how you think, but like I think there's nothing spoilery as
Okay.
such, but the whole idea is like the 3 hours for me were completely worth it. I never felt I mean, there are problems for sure. I'll not say it's a flawless film, but I loved it thoroughly. I loved it.
It came pretty close though. That's
Yeah, it came pretty close. I mean, the thing is, once I came out of the film, I was in that whole giddy feeling, which is not the Nolan giddy feeling which you have, but
No.
it was a kind of giddy feeling that I would have liked, and I got it basically. But over time, like over like a night, when I wrote about the film on Letterboxd as well, I thought there was something that it could have improved upon. But nonetheless, that's not something I would account to as like problems for people to not watch it. I feel you should definitely watch it. Okay, yeah, we can go into spoiler territory. You guys have any first thoughts or something that you liked particularly, Dhruv? Because I think you have more
No, I
like
mean,
particular
I think you
thoughts?
guys should go first because you guys are like much more enthusiastic about it, and I think
I am, yeah.
I'll share your enthusiasm in theory for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it. It's just emotionally, I wasn't ever sort of.
Mm-hmm.
You said the giddy feeling.
Mm-hmm.
When it ended, I was like, yeah, solid. Like that's my
Yeah.
sort of. When I came out, I was like, this is solid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I would recommend it to anyone who's interested in dark, broody, noirish
Yeah.
cinema.
Surprisingly,
Mm.
very
But
dark.
but yeah, like I wasn't ever moved, which is my big sort of reservation with it. But go ahead, you guys go first. I'll talk
Mm.
about it.
Amartya,
Firstly,
you go.
Batman.
You just
Firstly,
watched it, right?
yeah. Firstly,
Yeah.
Batman walking through a crime scene.
Mm.
He's
very
entering a crime scene.
very
The
meticulous.
yeah, the police is looking at him like
Yeah.
they are wary of him. They don't know what to make of him. Jim
Hmm.
Gordon is his only ally. He
Yeah.
enters and then he moves around. He's
Yeah.
talking with
Yeah.
Gordon. He's like equal to Gordon in that respect. He's also an investigator, and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
literally investigating a crime scene which is
Mm.
reminiscent of Fincher's Seven or Zodiac.
Very
Yeah.
much. I mean, Jim Gordon felt like his partner. Like
Partner.
he was
There's a
like,
Yeah,
couple of
instead
exactly.
of
scenes. Yeah, yeah.
instead
Yeah,
of how you've seen Alfred being his partner, I think Jim Gordon was more of his partner here.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he was
And
kind
my
of, yeah,
point
yeah,
and my point is the giddy feeling which you felt, Sanjeet. I
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
feeling at most of the segments when I was seeing these scenes because
Hmm.
yeah,
these are scenes every Batman fan wants to see because
yeah.
he is the world's greatest detective apparently.
I didn't know
Yeah,
this
I mean,
before.
what does DC even stand for? You can
yeah.
take your guesses.
DC is
Detective
Detective Comics.
Comics.
Detective Comics.
Yeah,
He's the synonymous brand, and finally we get a movie in which
yeah,
he's actually doing some detecting.
Hmm.
He's actually solving cases. He's solving clues.
Yeah.
Sure,
Uh,
are the riddles a tad bit simplistic for my taste? Maybe. But then again, if you're writing the Riddler,
yeah.
the main problem with writing a character like Riddler is the writer has to be smart enough to actually craft Riddler-like jokes.
Yeah.
hmm yeah.
That's the main
Uh,
problem with the Riddler.
Hmm.
So if you're going to craft Riddler like that, it's much easier to not focus on the jokes, but focus on the aesthetic and this ideology far more.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
Matt
yeah.
Reeves did in it.
Yeah.
Unlike, say, Batman Forever's Riddler played by Jim Carrey, which was
Oh, isn't it like super over the top and corny and
fever
all
dream
It
that?
is. It
apparently.
is
Yeah,
super.
it was a fever
I mean,
dream.
I am like amongst the very few, but I don't mind Batman Forever that much. I mean,
I
I
don't
do
mind
mind
it either.
Batman.
I don't
I,
mind it either.
I
in
haven't
fact,
seen
I
it.
think Val Kilmer is a very good Batman. Just like
Yeah.
wrong timing.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But yeah,
and that was one part, the fact that he's going through clues and everything. The
Hmm.
other big thing which I loved is the fact that it Gotham itself is a character. The main difference I think the Batman has with the Dark Knight is its
Hmm.
central villain is not the Riddler.
Hmm.
Because like the movie states, the city is a powder keg and Riddler
Hmm.
just lit the match.
Yeah.
The city itself
Hmm.
is the villain. The city's corruption, the city's mob, the mob
Yeah.
itself, the city is the
I
villain. And
just to interrupt, I messaged Sanjeet yesterday saying that this is probably a much more cohesive and better representation of mob mentality and sort of rot in a city than something like Joker,
yeah,
which
yeah.
to me at least, because I think uh, Joker is going for a similar sort of thing, but in that it all feels very individual elements that the director is trying to force together, whereas here it
Hmm.
feels much more, as you were saying, Amartya,
yeah,
it
but
feels as of a piece.
also aesthetically, it's very different from the Nolan verse because
Yeah,
in the Nolan verse, even the mansion in which Alfred and Bruce stay, that mansion is like a typical upstate manor type mansion,
yeah,
right? Here,
Hmm.
here though, the mansion is like chandeliers, design chairs. They're like
yeah.
kind of like
Gothic,
thrones. It's
right?
very, oh
Very
yeah, it's
gothic.
very gothic.
Yeah,
It's very
Like it
gothic.
has those gargoyles inside the house and all
Yeah,
and everything,
exactly.
right? Right?
Gargoyles are
yeah.
yep. Gargoyles are inside the house, and it's like mixing both of it. And yeah, this is kind of like what the Batman the animated series was. Batman the animated
Exactly.
series
Also, if you remember the animated series, there was a lot of there's this one shot of animated series intro, which
Hmm.
has the red sky,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And then
Oh yeah.
Batman is standing. I mean, and this also has a lot of red slash black palette which is
Hmm.
used.
Like
Which
great creation.
that is what I pointed out, like why I like reminisced the Batman the show, the animated show more, was because of the color aesthetic as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because
yeah,
because Batman the animated series was like a perfect distillation of each and every aspect of the character down to its
yeah,
core,
very
right?
much so, very much so. Yeah.
And to some extent, this movie is also that at the cost of not having an individual directorial standpoint, which might
Hmm.
be a criticism for some people. People might be
Hmm.
like, Reeves's own stamp is not there. I don't think that's a criticism for me per se, because
No.
his own
Yeah.
stamp notwithstanding,
Me neither.
it's still a very different and yet a very familiar Batman. And
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Batman as an IP itself is so big at this point that Batman movie itself has kind of like an aesthetic at this point.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
this movie gets it. I genuinely think Matt Reeves just gets the character
Hmm.
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
its core. The
Yeah.
fact that this is a guy who
Hmm.
is so damaged that and it's also such a coming of age story, right? It's like,
I mean, it's not prominently a coming of age story, but there is this element of like rough around the
yeah, yeah,
edges and
yeah,
all of
yeah.
that, right?
No, but
Also,
like the
in a
movie is
sense,
like
where it
he's
leads
telling,
up to. Sorry. I just
hmm,
wanted to say, sorry for interrupting, but like where it leads up to, in the whole mystery chain, right? How
hmm,
whatever Riddler wants, he actually in the end gets it. I mean, Riddler won in a way, right?
in a way, yeah.
In a sense, if
But
you look at it, Riddler won. So I mean, he is not the perfect guy, but he is like very rough around the edges. This is his
The,
second year and all of that, right? So
isn't it?
yeah, but it's like
what?
Batman is. Did he? Oh, that's your question, right, Dhruv? Did he win?
No, no, no. I don't think he won, as Sanjeet is saying. I think he wins fair bits, but I think it's a lot like the Dark Knight's Joker in
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in the in the construction, that character,
Yeah,
and the performance to some extent. Though I'm a little
yeah.
hazy on like how good I like Paul Dano in that.
The
Uh,
Batman is like coming of
Mm.
age, I'm telling, because the movie begins with him having doubts, thinking whether he's
hmm.
actually making a difference or
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
the city is fighting back.
So Paul Schrader character.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, the Paul Shader character, exactly.
yes, nice. I like it.
But but at the end of
But
the
that way, yeah,
movie,
it'll also make sense. Like he can be like a Paul Shader
He
because
is. I think he
I
is.
mean, it's
yeah,
very much. I mean that
a
narration
man
is
who's
also
walking at night. Oh, the shit!
taxi
Aren't there
driver,
also scenes where like the like
taxi
shots where
driver.
camera is pointing towards the streets
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that, right? Yeah, yeah, nice.
That's my
The narration also is
contribution.
very narration is very reminiscent of
Also,
Taxi Driver. The
yeah,
narration is
Yeah,
very reminiscent of
exactly.
it.
Yeah. I
someone
mean,
writing in a journal.
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
has also criticized, or maybe there were points where I was like, the narration can be a little corny, like because it's so like
No, but
descriptive.
I
Yeah.
got the corniness. I got the
Hmm.
corniness because this is a guy who listens to Nirvana something in the way.
Okay, fair enough.
That
Yeah,
song
he's
is
a.
not subtle.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I think that
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, I'm yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, you shouldn't be that subtle either in a superhero film. I
No,
mean,
it's
in
fine.
the
I
end,
don't
it's a
think
Yeah, but
man dressed
subtlety.
as a bat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You can't go completely like minimal to
I mean,
the
this went
you know
pretty
E.
minimal to my like.
Pretty
I thought
minimal, but
so.
it's
Yeah,
not
it's
extreme
not
because
that minimal.
if it is extreme, then it's like completely running away from the fact that it's a vigilante,
yeah.
uh, not a vigilante
Bhavesh
type thing. I
Joshi
mean, I don't know.
superhero.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean that is pretty subtle in its approach. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's not the point. But yeah,
sure.
go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but it's like, so in a way it's also a coming of age story because he felt like when the movie finally ends,
Hmm.
Mm,
he's at peace with his own ideology that vengeance is not going to solve it.
Yeah,
mm,
He's like at peace with the entire tapestry that is Gotham City itself and his role kind of in it.
yeah.
mm.
So
Yeah, because he's corrupt. Like his image itself is very corruptible, which he finds out, right? I think throughout the
yeah, yeah.
film, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which is
yeah.
one of the more interesting. So I think. Oh, so I'll just. This is a praise, not a criticism of the film. I don't have many criticisms, honestly. I don't. But I think one of the things that I really liked was the Riddler's scheme or Riddler's plan. I thought was very well orchestrated, like thought out, at least in the film.
Yeah.
because I mean, this story is kind of relevant, of course, because of the whole how easy it is to mobilize people or terrorism and through computer screens and all that, and people are despair, like the society is in a pile of junk, and then it's you mobilize, you weaponize that to like attack everyone else and clean up the city, right? So I really like that sort of how the Riddler uses that as a mechanism almost to like use against the people of Gotham by the end of the film. I think the rich versus poor aspect was very sort of interestingly integrated in that sort of sphere, and which is what I think, I guess one of the criticisms that people will make of it is that the film is convoluted and the film is very like
Here's where I'm going.
Yeah.
go
Okay.
Here's
ahead.
what I'm going to say. It's like,
Yep.
if you watch a noir movie, the plotting itself, right? It always becomes like, how are you plotting it? Like,
Yeah.
when is the digression taking place? And after a point, your brain is invariably going to go, wait, how did we get here? Let me rewind back. Your brain will automatically work that out.
Yeah.
It's how fast your brain can get back to the source, which will tell you whether your plot is simple or complicated or convoluted. For me, the plot felt pretty simple. The time when my brain suddenly went, how did I get here? Is like when they are searching for that rat.
The rat in the maze.
Yeah. No, not the rat in the maze. The entire rat analogy, the informant part. That was like, wait, how did we get here? Then I remembered, oh wait, that's how we get here. And it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this is not that convoluted.
Yeah.
But that's also something that I didn't like in a sense as well. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. When I look back, I was like, was there need of that much of zigzagging around? Because I felt it went a little too long. He could have surely edited, because I think at some point it started sagging and then it picked up. That's, I mean, if I'm being too objective about it,
I think the mob storyline ran the risk of actually overtaking the main plot to a certain extent.
Exactly. That's what kind of I thought it went a little overboard with that idea. Not that was like super bad or anything in any sense. I mean, it was good.
It wasn't a flaw for me per se, because I was super engaged in it.
I'm not denying engagement. I'm just saying, just as like, how do I say, if you're going from like point A and then it's like digressing, like going into like different subparts like A1, A2 to reach like, let's say B as a point. Sometimes what happens is you get lost in the number of sub things that you're having. And what happens is it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like going in too many like zigzagging way too much around something that could have just been easily pointed out.
I mean, I think
and it wouldn't have been convenient either, and that's what I'll have to say.
I think repeated viewings would make that better.
Probably.
And honestly, it's like my thesis statement of the movie is the fact that Gotham City is the main villain, and like that entire zigzag is kind of like showcasing how deep the rod goes.
I think I was not. That wasn't a problem for me, but I was saying this will be 100% something that will be brought up. For a lot of people, which is fine. Like, I think there's no like problem with that problem. People can have that problem, but I think I thought the impressive thing was how much that mob sort of culture that was there sort of linked to the Riddler's motivation also. So like, I understood why how he wanted to sort of mobilize whatever his people, and why he wanted to like go against all this systemic corruption, which included sort of Bruce Wayne and
the connectivity
his
made
father
sense.
himself.
The connectivity made sense. How the money was being siphoned off also made sense. Like, it's very Chinatown in a way, which is surprising because which is surprising because the movie ends with water basically entering in a city, and the water was the main problem in
Chinatown.
Interesting.
But
very
interesting. That's also what I would like to point out. I think Dhruv mentioned like old school filmmaking, which is very much what this film felt like. It wasn't about what we've come to know in the last 10 years as what filmmaking has really become. This is specifically, I felt, was very much like a 70s film in a sense. Even if you look at it, I don't know if it's shot on film or not, I cannot say, but there are like a lot of soft focuses and all of that. I mean, too technical, but it very much felt like they took time to place this camera here and
Yeah.
painstakingly take that. The filmmaking is bloody brilliant. I mean, so it reminds me so much of the pain, like the effort that has gone into making this film, because it's a sprawling film.
Hmm.
It's too much. There's like a lot going on, and the making of it, every shot must have been is designed so well. Every movement, every lighting, every even the sound, the background score. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Giacchino,
we
I
are going
think
to
he's
GST.
Giacchino's
doing
score
Yes,
is like
very.
holy.
Giacchino, whatever.
Giacchino's
Yeah.
score is like holy
Yeah,
crap.
yeah, yeah. There's this. I
Holy
think
crap.
Dhruv also mentioned the Riddler score.
Yeah.
The Riddler score really gave me the
So
creeps. That
yeah,
was no, that
Not
was
even the
very
Riddler score.
interesting. Yeah.
I think Batman score himself, like especially the
Hmm.
sad moments, those are
Hmm,
very, evocative in a way.
Hmm.
Like the
hmm,
score is itself telling a separate story, which is also enhancing your main viewing
hmm,
experience.
hmm,
Right?
hmm.
Hmm.
It it just it just works in a way, and it's surprising how well it works. And
Yeah,
as for the
but
as for
sorry,
the
sorry, go
mob
ahead.
elements, especially with the mob elements also is connecting Batman's story with Selina Kyle, Catwoman.
I was about
Mhm.
Those
to. You go ahead about this. I'm least sold on this
Yeah. Even
dynamic.
even
Yeah.
even friends of mine are very least sold on it. I think
Yeah.
I
I
am sold on it.
I think I'm bought on their chemistry for a couple of reasons. Number one, I
Hmm.
think this version of Catwoman is not the version I was expecting. I was expecting a very badass, crass, sassy Catwoman. What I
Hmm.
got was a very young, vulnerable, and yet very
Yeah, yeah,
protective
yeah,
and
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
and very
Okay.
self-aware Catwoman, which is like interesting. I haven't seen this.
I mean, I'll give the credit to both the actors for this, because from the moment they kind of like face each other, there was something already there in the beginning between them. I mean, it's how do I explain it to you? So it's like when their first couple of scenes happen, I was sold onto that because it didn't need a lot of convincing for me to buy that they'll like be acquaintances to each other, like
I'll
and
tell you
you'll
why.
probably like look out for each other.
I'll tell you why Pattinson is so good. I'll tell you why Pattinson is so good. When he's
Hmm.
looking through his binoculars, right? When he sees Selina opening the wig and getting into the cat suit, you can see it in his eyes. He's suddenly like his eyes widens and he's like, "Ooh, she's a freak like me." That is like some level of
Possible,
acting.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I definitely didn't catch the moment that Amartya said, and I wasn't sold on the chemistry either. I
Yeah.
honestly wasn't. Like, I
Uh,
really found their interactions the point where the movie stopped for me. Like, I thought
hmm,
when they meet above at the tower, like all that her link to the mob and her personal story, I didn't buy into much. Also, I thought the performances, I honestly thought the chemistry wasn't there. Which is the bigger point of like, I told Sanjeet this when I watched it. To me, there is some emotional crux lacking somewhere in the film. Like, I can't latch on to
hmm,
anything. To me,
hmm,
it's it's that Paul I said it flippantly about like he's the Paul Schrader character. And the thing is, this world is so bleak and so dark that I think no one is to be trusted. So I would
hmm.
think that basically with everyone, he has like a very. I thought Catwoman would have like that betrayal moment. Since it's a noir, right? She'll
Also,
have the
it's a Catwoman.
femme
Also, it's a
fatale
Catwoman.
and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Catwoman thing.
I mean,
But
Catwoman
the,
is known to betray him in a
Yeah.
lot of
but the emotional
as a
crux of
character.
it, I think, is solely focused on, I think, Wayne's coming of age in a way because
The one where he
he
keeps on looking to the child.
yeah, in a
Hmm.
way,
Yeah.
that because he understands
Also,
the
I'm
pain
happy
of
there
being
was
an
no
orphan.
flashback. I'm so
Yeah,
happy there was
thank
no
God.
flashback. No pearls falling in the drain.
No popcorn and pulse moment. Yeah, please do. And, and it's like, the pain of being an orphan and also the pain of knowing your parents are not who you thought they were. And
That was the
That
part
was
where I
genuinely
was
good.
very,
Yeah, yeah.
that
very,
was
yeah.
genuinely good. And I also don't get why people are not liking Andy Serkis's performance as Alfred. Maybe
Oh,
because he isn't in it much. Maybe because he isn't in it much. That's one.
Really?
Yeah, he
I
was
mean,
he was
I was
good.
pretty undersold also, honestly. Like, but it's probably
So
because he wasn't in it much for me
He
also.
wasn't
So
in
I
it much.
I also think with the anti-circus thing, Andy, with if you look, there is this. I think I wrote this on Letterbox as well. There's been this so much of this cultural idea of who Batman is and who's been around Batman, that I
Hmm.
think they didn't feel the need. And this is not the first year Batman. This is like a second year
This is
Batman,
year
right?
two. Yeah, this is
Year
year two.
two. So I mean, Alfred has kind of taken like a backseat, and now he's looking at him perform. He's like, even though he's trying to help him solve the ciphers, uh,
No, but it's
it's
like
Batman who. I mean, I felt that was in a sense there was no Alfred
Need.
influence over like too much into a face until he realizes, oh no, I still need an Alfred in my life when the scene happens
no, but the
between them.
relationship is also very strange, right? Because he's not supposed to be. He wasn't supposed to be the father figure to this kid,
Hmm.
and it's like both of them have kind of like a strained relationship in a way, because
No.
both of them are, and both of, like, Alfred is the more reserved one. He's always going to say that, but every time when Bruce reacts back is, "You're not my father," his reaction is, "I'm well aware."
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this felt like something he has faced through before. This reaction by Bruce that, "You're not my father. Stop fathering me. Stop babysitting me." And his reaction is always kind of like, "I'm well aware. I'm aware of that."
Which is
That
why I
doesn't.
think the influence of Alfred or the scenes with Alfred are less. It's
Yeah,
purely because he's like, and I wouldn't call it like really strange, but I would like just say ki,
it's
since
different. It's a
it's
very
different.
different.
It's also perception of what Batman sees, like Bruce Wayne sees Alfred as, and
Hmm.
all of this is what we are absorbing with him. I
I
mean,
mean,
Yeah.
I thought he's supposed to have a bigger influence or personality in his life, because there is that one scene where stuff happens in his house and like the mansion explodes and he's about to die. Or does he die? No, right?
no,
No,
he
no, he
doesn't.
doesn't.
No, no, no,
He
he doesn't.
doesn't
But
die.
yeah, but
Okay.
once the mansion explodes and he's taken to the hospital, and then that hospital scene happens. By that time, I think the shift in the relationship happens, right?
Oh, okay.
Before that,
I
it
see.
was
Yeah,
strange.
Again,
yeah,
didn't chart to me. Honestly, didn't chart. Like I'm just saying like whatever I felt, because I
Yeah,
told
yeah.
you yeah.
I think the relationship changed a bit, because he's
Okay.
like, "You lied to me and you said that,
Yeah.
and he's like, "We all have our scars, but you're
Yeah.
still awake."
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Got it.
Also, yeah, go ahead.
no, no, you continue.
No, I just said honestly, I think that it needs another kind of viewing for very much
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
because
Maybe.
I think since I think I also discovered a couple of things which you guys are talking about, which I'm like, oh, looking back at that, oh, I think I don't remember it as well, but there was like a lot to it.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's more like also because it's like 3 hours. There's like a lot of information thrown at you in terms of just the film, and there's like a
Mhm.
lot going on. Like it's visually engaging. There's like so much going on.
Yeah.
I think maybe. Also, I think we can also discuss about where he charts as a Batman, looking context-wise at the last couple of Batmans. What do you
Okay, this
think?
is okay. This is very tough to answer because everybody's Batman is different,
Yeah.
right?
Of course. No.
Mm,
So here's what I thought. Only considering Snyder's Batman because he's the most recent one. I'll say. I thought, and I also consider Snyder as a filmmaker here. Snyder loves his
What
moments
does
a lot.
that mean, even? Of course,
What?
he's a filmmaker, right? He
No,
is a
I was
film.
completing my sentence, man. Just like I was saying,
Okay,
he's a
okay,
filmmaker who needs his moments around like these characters.
Yeah.
And don't
okay.
listen to me. Don't. Okay, so like if you see if I clearly remember, I don't remember just the Batman, Justice League Batman a lot,
Mhm,
but I
mhm,
remember the Batman Superman, which I really liked when I watched
mhm,
it.
mhm.
Um, I mean, there are sequences where Batman is this, and it was also a very different version of Batman that I saw.
A
Hmm.
very
Uh,
older version, yeah.
a very older version, and also it deviates a lot from what the comics represented Batman as. Also, another thing with Snyder's filmmaking, he builds those moments with Batman really well, but the
Mm,
other moments he couldn't. I feel. I mean, there
yeah.
were a lot of other
Mhm,
moments where I think he failed Batman really badly. But the
Hmm.
other action sequence, like there is one chase sequence in Batman vs Superman which ends with
The
Batman
warehouse.
encountering warehouse action sequence, which is one of my
mm.
favorites. Um, so if you look at that, I mean, the sequence is fantastic,
Oh,
lovely
yeah.
moments. You compare it to the chase sequence here. I mean, not that it requires comparison, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying. For example, if you had to, I think I hadn't seen the trailer, but I'd seen the image
Hmm.
of Batman. I mean, the image that we got sold
The
onto
rear
eh,
view mirror.
the
Oh no, the
Oh, yeah.
inverted.
inverted
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Inverted, yeah, yeah.
inverted Batman shot
Yeah.
walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like a proper superhero image. I mean,
Cool
even though I'd
image.
seen it, cool image.
Hmm.
But when I watched the movie, it had so much depth
Yeah.
and so much. I don't know. I mean, I don't
It
know if I'm
hit
able to
harder.
explain it. It
I'll,
hit
It hit
harder.
harder. Yeah.
I mean,
The way it was supposed to as well. So I mean,
uh,
that was like a moment, and I literally had my mouth open at that. I'm like, whoa, like it was that
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, you
Yeah.
understand? It was
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
so. I think the one thing that like that kind of these cool moments where we talk about in films, right? Like especially
yeah,
in
yeah,
something like you see Avengers Endgame. Like of course it's a different example, but there
yeah,
is
yeah,
that
yeah.
cool moment which is so clearly signposted. That everyone is entering the frame and like wide shot will hold, and it's like this is clearly a moment not required by narrative. It's a moment
Mm-hmm.
to please
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone in the cinema.
Yeah,
Like it'll
yeah,
Yeah.
break
yeah,
the wall
yeah.
almost right at that point. I think with this Batman, there's so much of a bulky movement to the Robert Pattinson character. Like he moves
Mm.
slowly. Like you can hear the thudding of the boot. It's
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
lovely.
which is
But
which
that
is
is
also
terrifying. But that is also
yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, no, but it's a compliment to Greg Fraser's
Fraser.
cinematography also, and
Hmm.
I think what you get like so in that cool moment you were talking about, right? It
Mm.
feels still very much part of the fact that he moves like that. It's a slow motion movement, yes, but he
Mm.
otherwise also moves like that. Like he's not a fast, zippy sort of, like there's no whatever. He doesn't. I remember that one scene where he
Mm.
falls from the building, right?
Mhm.
And you falls from the
Mm.
tower where he's jumping from the police headquarters, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
you clearly see him preparing to fall down, and then you see him fall down, and
yeah,
he like tumbles down the subway. Like it's
yeah.
all of those sort of moments, right? I think no one laughed in the cinema hall when he fell down, at least in my
Yeah.
cinema hall.
I
I
I
felt the
I said
pain.
an audible out. I said an audible
I
ouch.
was like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Same,
yeah.
same, yeah. So
So
I
it's
mean
that
that's
seriousness. Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
that's also what I was trying to point at before was that over the 3 hours we get so much involved with Batman, this character. What
Hmm,
happens is every punch he gets hit by, I think I felt it. And
hmm,
I was with him when I wanted him to punch the other guy towards the end where he's fighting off those people. I was like, just punch that guy. And when he injects himself, I think I love those moments a lot. So I mean, I think that's a huge like bonus points to. I mean, not just bonus points, like just for like full marks to Matt Reeves,
bonus
especially for
points
like
and full marks.
full marks, everything, whatever he
Uh,
deserves, like 105, 100.
I
I
think
mean, that's. But yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I think the Snyder Batman, what you're talking about, Sanjeev, is like if you remember the Snyder Batman is so comic booky. Even his costume is like just simply a leather costume, right?
Yeah,
hmm,
yeah, yeah.
And he's like genuinely bulky. He's like genuinely that huge. He's like
hmm,
Dark Knight
Mm.
Returns level huge.
hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just comic booky. That's not even realism to the point of like it's laughable if you compare it
Hmm.
realistically. So his
Mm.
movement is also zippy and everything. Since this version is so real, it's like his costume is half armor, half leather. It
Hmm.
it
Mm.
feels like a guy. It feels like a guy who is just making his costume and his parts. His Batmobile is a souped up Mustang. For heavens' sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a young 20-year-old kid using all his parents' money to build weapons he thinks
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Emphasis
mean,
on the he thinks.
I think coolness itself is very downplayed here, right? In general, there is very little cool, which is why
Mm.
when they kiss at the tower, I was like, what is this scene doing here? Like, why is
Okay.
like I didn't make sense of it. I was like, what is this? Like, where did this happen? Like what happened
Mm.
between them? Firstly, I didn't. I told you I didn't buy into the chemistry, but there were a couple of those moments. I think there was one more, but I can't recall it anymore.
Mm.
But yeah, the groundedness of it kind of which I think people will take offense to. I'm not like I can already imagine a slew of criticism that is going to come its way for being quote unquote realistic and quote unquote gritty and quote unquote
Very
uh
gritty.
yeah just taking itself seriously, which it
Hmm.
does. It really takes
Yeah,
itself
yeah, it
seriously.
really does.
So
But it's also
yeah.
funny. It's
Is
also
it
surprisingly funny. At
okay?
times it is. Colin Farrell's character is very
Oh,
funny.
Colin Farrell. Yeah, that reminds me. I
It's
never
damn
recognized,
funny.
which I've messaged Sanjeet also saying. I just
Yeah.
didn't know that that's Colin Farrell. And what do you guys think of Paul Dano as the Riddler?
Okay, here's the thing.
Hmm.
Here's the thing.
When Amartya says, okay, here's the thing, there's a lot to say.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
He isn't in it much. That's a
Uh-huh.
big thing. And when he's in it, I buy when he's quiet, I buy when he's reserved, when he's angry. When he's shouting, it's taking me a bit of a hard time to buy that.
Yeah.
He's not intimidating, if that makes sense. It
Yeah.
also makes sense that he needs the mask to be more intimidating, but it's like even as an actor, when he's shouting, he's not that intimidating.
Yeah.
Like Pattinson with his broodiness even is really intimidating. You don't want to talk with this guy. If you meet him in real life, you're not going to talk with this guy.
Yeah.
No,
But
but so I think I'll piggyback on that only. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
it's strange. Like, his performance is between pantomime, like really like high pitched and like whatever you said, right? The Riddler you've seen in Batman Forever. Like, there is that element of camp to it almost, but then there's also like a reserved element to it, which I don't know. I like the reserved bit more. But the scene which happens, the interrogation between them, I thought that was a little off, just because of there was that it reminded me of High and Low, weirdly enough. The Akira Kurosawa movie.
Yeah, that's weird.
No, it's Poor Rich or whatever, like the
Yeah.
but yeah, Dano's thing, it reminded me a little bit of his performance in Prisoners, honestly. Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners.
Okay,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm going to say I liked him. Like, I don't really have any problems. I think I like the shouting bits as well. Like, I think I was sold on the performance. I think I genuinely love Paul Dano so much that I don't think so I picked it out objectively, but I might try to when I watch it the second time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I was fairly bought onto the performance, his idea and all of that.
I like the hostage scene a lot with Peter Sarsgaard.
That scene is fantastic.
Nice.
That scene is fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's very effective in that also. When
but it's like he's so less in that, right? His face itself, his appearance is so less in this. They knows that, like, even if I don't buy into his performance, or even if I buy into his performance, my buying or not buying is critical on those couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of interesting things that are happening with Paul Dano. Like, I personally like, and this was also post viewing that I realized, there are like so many interesting things that he's doing. Like, whenever he's like on the camera. First of all, I think the camera almost like the camera thing almost brings me back to the fact that I start remembering, oh, it's a modern film. It's not an old school film that I'm watching. Because throughout there are no such elements that would point me towards
another comparison. Can I throw which movie I thought of? It's not a ridiculous one. Blade Runner 2049. In terms of pacing and like like the stillness of it all, right? It's and seriousness also, actually, because Blade Runner is super serious, right? So
even the cinematography. So it's going to be hard to compare who's the better cinematographer here, because Greg Fraser is like,
he did Dune also, right?
Yeah, he's at the top of the game at the moment.
The game. This is my Dune, by the way. Just putting it out there. This is my Dune.
Much
better written.
What is
better.
I'm editing this out. I can't. No, anyway.
No, I'm not editing it. I'm editing it properly.
Okay, that's like.
No, you want to edit it, you'll edit it. Then.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything, but coming
back.
No,
you edit it.
No,
you edit
my point being, like the Paul Dano point that I was saying was there's so much to like. I thought he was doing like so many interesting things, and I think that was not directed for sure. Like him coming to the camera. I think so. I think so. It wasn't like super directed. You can't direct those kind of performances.
Probably seems like improv though, and which I think is the problem for someone like me. It feels very much like sort of uncontrolled. Like the shouting goes into a little bit of the funny to me.
I mean, he goes for it. That's what I like. He goes for it. It's not like reserving some bits of Riddler. I think he is kind of like crazy. You can't run away from the fact.
I think it's to do with some people have faces or like costume, makeup, which are menacing, and I think he doesn't have like a face that is menacing to me. And that contrast between baby face and like voice is also not strong enough for me to find him intimidating. When he's there on screen, I found him much more creepy and intimidating when he's
He
doing
has
the
the
clues
mask.
stuff, and when you kind of know bits and pieces of him. Like the more, like it felt like he'll have one of those 7 moments where like the actor who shan't be named now comes out in the
Spacey.
open and, and shouts
Yeah.
detective or whatever. Yeah.
But
Detective.
yeah. But it's like his baby face is also kind of like the concept of Riddler, right? Riddler is a noble.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
He's
Yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah.
cult.
Yeah.
He itself is like a cult, and that's good. But yeah, my issues with Dano, and this is a very minor issue, is like he reminded me of the Joker in a bit. And that's not a comparison I want to make when I'm watching a movie with another villain. When I'm watching a Batman movie with another villain, it's Rogue's
I
Gallery.
mean,
Hmm.
but also if you see Amartya, you would know better.
Yeah.
But like, there are versions of like Two-Face where he's also behaving like a maniac, like Joker in a way.
Yeah, Batman Forever.
No, not just Batman Forever. I mean, talking about like comics. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, like Joker, we've taken it as like a standpoint that he's the maniac and he's the crazy one. But I think in some of the other version, all these characters are like crazy,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's just the Joker is the most memorably crazy or creepy one. At least to me, it
Exactly.
is. So
I mean, Riddler. From whatever I've seen and I've read, I've always felt like Riddler has always been that crazy. It's just that his craziness has always been overshadowed by Joker's
I see.
maniac nature.
I don't know how they'll. Who's the next villain? Do you guys know?
I think
Uh,
Joker with Barry
Definitely.
Keoghan was
Barry
the
Barry
Keoghan is
second.
Keoghan is
Joker.
Joker. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Guy is on some
Uh,
other level. I like it. I love Barry Keoghan, so I'm curious to see what he
Yeah.
does. But
Barry Keoghan. But it's also interesting. Like, okay, this is going to sound very interesting. I don't know if anybody has noticed this. Is Reeves actually trying to make the Schumacher movies better at this point? Like, the Batman has the Riddler, right? The Riddler became good. What if the second movie has Mr. Freeze?
uh,
I mean, is it
What
bro?
if?
How?
Just what if? What if it has
But it's
Mr.
fine if
Freeze?
you like like whatever,
yeah.
making
I
them.
mean, if
There's no.
you've seen the animated show, Dr. Freeze's story is
Yeah,
lovely.
lovely.
His
Yeah.
whole emotional core. I think there's another movie also, Batman Sub-Zero, I think.
Sub-Zero. Yeah.
Right?
This is going into like Batman. You're going into your own Batman
No.
universe.
What I'm trying to
Explain to
say,
me. I'm the
What am I?
outsider.
no. So basically, Dhruv, you've not seen anything or what? Like the cartoon also?
Wow, that's a
Man, you
nice.
were, you
That's a nice way to like reduce someone's credibility. Through we
no,
haven't seen anything.
what are you saying? Your credibility is not defined by just Batman. Your credibility is defined
I
by
told you, my
Malik. But
Malik. I'm never forgetting that, by the way. That was
yeah,
amazing.
that stayed with me in my head forever now. No, but what I'm trying to say is like the like this Dr. Freeze story is more to do with the fact that he's trying to save his wife,
Hmm.
and then he makes so that's
Oh,
also
like
got like
Octopus in Spider-Man 2.
very much so,
Kind
very
of,
much
yeah.
so. I
Very
think,
much.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean that if he's taking that aspect of it, not just the puns, then it's obviously going to work.
A
That's my
pun
point. Right?
in a Batman universe will be like the most strange
Yeah. Entry here.
tonality
Yeah.
thingy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's
But interesting movie, man. Yeah, all
interesting movie.
interesting idea that if Freeze appears. Okay, I think if we don't have any much more to say, I think we can conclude
Are we
this
going to
episode with
talk
like
about the ending? Are we going to talk about the ending in a bit? Because I like the fact how it ended. Like, that
okay.
entire sequence of how the seawall breaks and everything. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's
Oh,
like the
again,
stake.
Seawall is a Blade Runner 2049. Music
Okay,
reference, but okay.
it's like the stakes are incrementing, right?
Yeah.
Incrementing, it's getting higher and higher. But by the time that situation happens, you are already invested enough that you buy that this thing is going to go now completely focusing on Gotham itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No,
So
I think I think I like the escalation by the end of it at least. Like
exactly,
I
yeah.
also find that whole plot of like cult mentality and all that very scary in any case. So it's probably like playing
Yeah.
into my
It's kind of like
thingy.
what Nolan did in Dark Knight. What
Yeah.
Nolan did in Dark Knight is like reflecting the reality of what happens in our world.
Yeah.
Reeves is also kind of doing that. He's
Yeah,
using
it's
the
very
internet
much
here
that one.
with
Yeah.
the fringe group mentality, and
Yeah.
so that's how it is. And
Yeah.
I loved how it ended. Its ending is also very bleak, right?
Hmm.
It's very like Sanjeet. I don't know. Have you heard of No Man's Land?
Is it like another version of comic? Yeah. Editing point. This is where we have to edit. What if
You.
all of this? What if all of this I keep it and I don't edit this?
We've
Is there
done this
something?
before. No, which one was the episode in which we kept all this? Whose
Yeah,
episode
so
was it?
Hey man, if you're still listening this episode, please don't leave. Amartya is
Oh,
coming back in 3, 2, 1.
I'm back. So
Yeah, go ahead.
so the thing about it is like how do you escalate? Like No Man's Land was a storyline, and Dhruv, sorry for going a bit deep, but it's
no,
like
no, go. I'm listening.
like
Yeah.
Go,
Gotham
go.
City is hit by an earthquake. Okay, in
Okay,
in
I
a
don't know.
story,
I don't know about the story.
Gotham City is hit by an earthquake which completely like huge, like Richter scale was extremely high to the extent that most of the buildings like fall down and people are trapped. So the Bat family tried to save everybody.
Hmm.
And by the end of that storyline and beginning of No Man's Land, like Gotham City is completely shut off from the rest of the world.
Hmm.
Okay, it becomes kind of like a dystopia in a way,
Got it.
Hmm.
and no governmental supply or help is coming
Hmm.
Isn't that like
to help.
Dark Knight Rises
Dark Knight
movie
Rises was
and
inspired by
yeah?
No Man's Land. I
Okay.
kind of felt like this ending is also very much inspired by No Man's Land.
Okay,
That's
okay, okay,
Okay.
that's
okay.
that's my feeling.
Oh,
That's
by
how.
the thank you for reminding me though. I have one more small problem.
Yeah.
I really get tired of the whole token black character as like the savior
Oh
of.
yeah.
I really let's
Who's
just
who's
loose
here?
it. The president or like the whoever's being
The
elected,
mayor.
the
Yeah,
mayor.
yeah.
Sorry, I was just
But
like
Okay.
just
like
yeah. Go ahead.
I think the difference between a normal token black character and the character here is like she's being built up in the background pretty well, right? Like
Yeah, she's always existed in this
she's
world.
I
always
mean
existed in the
that's
And
background.
also this is more of a multicultural world anyway. I think they didn't like explicitly told that this is this guy, this guy. Like like the person on the force is like Batman and Bruce Wayne interact is like what Rodriguez, right?
Yeah.
What was
I mean,
some
I'm not
Ramirez.
saying all
Ramirez.
that. It's just that it's always this is a trope now. No, like it's the
but
good
that
character
trope
in
is
the.
more evident in a film like Last Night in Soho, but not I didn't feel it that
I
way to be
felt it
honest.
here, to be
Okay,
honest. But then
possibly.
maybe I was looking for
I
that.
think
Who
if you're
knows?
going, I think if you're going for the token,
You're
woke
Dark
just
Knight is
sitting
argument.
and
always
looking, oh, when is it going to come? Oh, now you're gone. Minus marks.
Yeah. I,
yeah, that's what I was doing.
Black
I
character
think
minus marks.
yeah. I think if we are going for that woke argument, we also have to state that like Jim Gordon
Yeah.
is
So
unnecessarily black, but that's not a criticism. He should
that's
be black.
fine. Like that was totally fine. I didn't feel like it was like an aberration or something. But here with this character, I was like, of course, the hope of the town is. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, sure,
Also,
Though,
but
yes,
it
thank you
didn't.
for that's a great comparison. Sunil. It didn't strike me. It's Last Night in Soho is horrible at doing that.
Oh
So
yeah, I
yeah,
remember that. I remember that part. Oh yeah,
it's horrible. I'm sorry, but like it's really
that
shameful.
movie
yeah.
disappointed me so much. Oh god.
Yeah, but let's not go there. But the point being, there was an F bomb in this movie. But
Very, very weirdly timed. I was
I
like
yeah,
wouldn't
pretty
know.
much
I
I was
wouldn't
like,
know.
what?
Indian theater censored it. I
oh
wouldn't know.
really?
Where was the
It's
F-bomb?
there in the beginning when
Beginning, yeah. During
Savage
its
says it.
investigation, right?
Investigation.
Oh, I wouldn't know. They completely muted that entire part. They muted a lot of things in the movie.
Oh
So I'm like,
wow,
What
really?
else?
There's nothing to
Oh,
yeah,
mute otherwise, no?
hmm.
couple of things like I
Like
think there was
shit.
a shit, there was a
Yeah,
shit, there
that
was a hot
they like
shit or
muting
whatever.
shit a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. They muted a couple of
I
things. Yeah.
am super surprised now that this film got made, man. Like, how did
Yeah.
the executives agree? Because whatever shit they've been facing for the last, I don't know, for whatever movies that they've made,
Hmm.
I'm surprised it's 3 hours long. It looks like super dark
Hmm.
and has all of these like. And see, this is what I was saying when I watched Spider-Man. Spider-Man is for kids. This
Yeah,
is
I'm a
not really
kid.
for kids. You're not a kid. Shut up. This is for literally the adult audiences, and kids could
This
also go and explore something. This is what I
this
like about filmmaking,
I
this kind of stuff.
this
messaged
is
you
the
saying that the ADHD teenage crowd might be absolutely hating this.
They might
Uh,
go, they might hate it, yeah. And no,
I
I
said the
sort of
ADHD, not the teenage crowd in general, just to specify.
ADHD. Are you also talking about Eh Dil Hai Mushkil? But coming back, what other
That's not
thoughts do you have?
ADHD, Sanjeev, but okay. Nice try too.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't.
Sanjeev, yeah, Amartya will blow
Yeah,
off.
they'll head dushkil. But no, I mean, I think we can conclude the episode now with our with our
Where did that go?
man. This is like the numerous breaks that we've taken in this show.
I think
No, tell me, how would you conclude your thoughts? Like, what do you think and future, whatever, blah 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 blah.
You're
okay,
talking
so
about the movie or our life?
Anything, man. Whatever you feel like. This is a mental health podcast. You can
yeah.
talk.
So what do you call a movie which is like opposite to the common grain? Like, what is the opposite to a blockbuster? What is the terminology called?
Anti-blockbuster.
No. What is the terminology called in official industry terms, right?
I
What
don't
is
know,
that?
man.
You know, man,
Um,
parallel movie or
I always thought Blade Runner 2049 is like the anti
Art house, yeah.
art
I mean,
house blockbuster, I guess.
my point is if the MCU is the typical template which most
Yeah.
studios are following,
then this is anti that, yeah.
this is anti that. I think
Yeah.
WB is trying to do that. That's why it got made. Honestly,
I mean, it's a
that's why it got-
companion. Like, if for people whoever likes Joker, it's a good companion piece in terms of just the world, I guess. Like,
Tonality,
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though
I like
I'm a much less of a fan of Joker, but this.
Hey,
I
Yeah,
you
think
know what?
same.
Even I am. I liked
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
fast.
same.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I liked it, but it's not like some great masterpiece. I mean, this is much
Yeah.
This is
better,
much-
I feel, if you had to even compare it. But yeah, I like these kind of worlds that they're building with both these characters.
So no Joaquin Phoenix, and so no crossover between Todd Phillips and Matt Reeves is.
I wouldn't want.
universes? I'm just asking.
Barry Keoghan's
No.
Joker is already here, so we don't
Yeah,
need a
yeah,
Todd.
yeah.
Maybe he's
I
his
mean,
son.
and you know what? I thought, oh, okay. No, this is worse than my ADHD thing, man. Shut up.
No, it's not.
That's
No,
a-
it's not. You have topped it all.
No.
Because Thomas Wayne in Joker was an asshole. Thomas Wayne in this movie isn't an asshole.
Yeah, he's a redeemable asshole. That's true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sure,
No, but
whatever.
I didn't know that the unnamed Arkham, prisoner. I thought that was going to be Two-Face for some reason. I didn't know it was going to be Joker.
Maybe because of the facial scars. Maybe.
I was associating with long Halloween, so I thought maybe this is like the introduction to Two-Face.
But I guess it will be interesting to see how they tackle it, because the next one's going to have multiple villains, right? Because Paul Dano is definitely going to return, and then
Oswald.
the Colin
Oswald's
Farrell
getting a
is-
mini
exactly.
series anyway. Penguin's
What?
getting a mini series. Yeah, HBO Max mini series.
Okay.
If that, I would have banged my head on my mic. Express this. See, now this is the problem. No, now this
But you know
subsidiary
what?
thing
If
happens.
if there's a good director at helm, you can do it well. I recently watched Peacemaker like 10 days back,
What is
and I
Peacemaker?
thought it's
Fantastic
a show
Four,
Oh,
based
the
off
James
the
Gunn thingy.
yeah. I thought it was well made. So
Okay.
although
It's
it's
a
not in the
fantastic
same
show.
universe,
It's a
but I
fantastic
loved
show.
it. Yeah, I quite liked it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, if they do it well. So yeah, Dhruv, conclusion, ending thoughts.
सही बोल तो दिया सब कुछ और क्या
Oh,
बोलना
you don't have anything more to say? I thought I'll go
it's a
into
solid movie.
Yeah.
It's for
You
whoever
telling me?
is interested in a detective story more than a superhero story, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
Mm.
and just I'd be very pleased, even though I don't love it nearly as much as you both do. I would be very pleased if this does as well as the other
Blockbuster.
fancy sort of
Yeah,
Sanjeev's
yeah.
favorite Spider-Man stuff does.
Yeah,
Like,
my favorite. Yeah.
yeah.
I think the only problem it might have to actually earning that much more money is the runtime. But then again, it's Batman. Batman
Spider-Man was 3 hours also. No, how long was that?
No, 2.5
hours.
hours.
2.5 hours.
Okay.
Mm.
I mean,
No, but I am happy that this movie got made. First of all, I loved the film. I think we've already like appreciated it quite well. I loved it. Like I loved the casting also. I mean, what lovely solid cast. Yeah, like it's very
Fantastic
rare
cast.
that every person in the cast is like almost pitch perfect. The world aesthetics are good. I loved Matt Reeves' decision making, Greg Fraser's camera work, the music
Michael
by Michael
Giacchino.
Giacchino. Yeah.
Michael-
Yeah, so I mean, I loved it. You should definitely watch it. If
Oh yeah,
you've watched
definitely
it
watch it
once,
from my side also. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
watch it again if you already watched it once.
yeah, that.
Yeah.
So I
Pattinson,
think
Pattinson as Batman is a fantastic Batman. If
good
people were
choice.
worried,
Good choice. Yeah. I mean,
fantastic.
also, why wouldn't it be a good choice? Pattinson has, I mean, he's been doing well for the last 3-4 years. I mean, Lighthouse, Uncut Gems, even the kind of roles
High
that he's
Life.
doing in the middle, High Life. Also, what was the movie? The Devil All the Time, where he's doing that southern
Yeah,
accent.
he's the best person in the. I know Amartya likes it.
He's
I
the
think.
pastor. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I don't like the movie, but I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a good Pattinson movie. I mean, whatever.
He's campy in that though.
Can be full on.
I
But
enjoyed
yeah, I
him.
liked him.
Hmm.
Enjoyable stuff. So yeah, I mean, Pattinson, good Batman. Okay, so I think this is the end of the episode. I think we had a lovely time discussing Batman, the new Batman movie. Please go watch it. You can follow Dhruv. You can follow us on Dhruv or at Terminal Cinema on Instagram. You can follow Amartya
Thank you.
on his Instagram handle Amartya20 Amartya 25 Amartya 25
Amartya 25. Yeah.
This is every time, right?
I get
Messing up
confused
with-
all the time. I get confused all the time.
Yeah, ADHD. That is not gonna be.
And you can follow me at Pixelova. Please follow us on Instagram at queensdead.film podcast. Please follow us on Spotify and or Google Podcast or any other podcast Apple podcast where you listen, and share it with friends, because it helps us reaching out to more people. Give us recommendations in our DMs.
Oscar season, guys. We will
Oscar season,
yeah.
much more episodes going to come in the coming few days. Please,
none of us really
follow us.
cares about the Oscars, but still we will talk about.
But still,
None
for
of
you.
us care about it. Yeah, none of us care.
But we are going to be great cinephiles and show our dedication. So
yeah.
Do
So
tune
yeah,
in.
please follow us. Rate us on Spotify. That would be really helpful. Thank you so much for all the support that we've gotten till now. Thank you for listening. Khatam.